I would like to introduce our debaters, or conversationalists, as the case may be. Aidan Doyle, who will be to my right here, is a third-year jazz and philosophy major at UCLA. And he has been an active participant in the encampment and the protests happening on the UCLA campus. I want to really give credit to Mr. Doyle for being here. We spoke to, please, absolutely. Thank you. Mr. Doyle was arrested last month by the police for various activities on campus, and we'll probably talk about those during the debate. He films and documents protests and discusses foreign policy, electoral politics, and a number of other issues on his social media channels. Mosab Hassan Yousef. Yeah. He was born in Ramallah in the West Bank in 1978. His father is Sheikh Hassan Yousef, one of the founders of Hamas. And they were obviously responsible for the horrible atrocity that happened on October 7th, by any estimation. Mr. Yousef was linked to Hamas most of his young life. He faced intense horrors in his youth. He was imprisoned for 27 months in Israeli prisons. He talks about in his book, Son of Hamas, the torture that he went through, that he claims he went through. But despite all that, his worldview shifted at one point. And that's when he saw that in these prisons, Hamas prisoners were torturing their own people. So then he went on a 6-year journey and sought political asylum here in the United States. In Los Angeles, actually, he came. And he has obviously a very unique perspective, being from that region and part of that organization. So he's trying to make a new path forward for generations caught up in this cycle of violence. So I would like to welcome Mr. Doyle and Mr. Yousef. So we're going to, these are the ground rules. We're going to have a question, often a yes or no question, and whoever I ask the question of will have 2 minutes to respond. Vida is over here, and she'll have a clock here to remind you. And after your 2 minutes are done, the next person gets to speak for 2 minutes, and then we'll have a rebuttal for 2 minutes, and then we'll move on to the next question. So I'd like to start off by asking I'd like to ask you first, Mr. Doyle, what aspect of your personal life brought you to be an activist for the pro-Palestinian encampment on campus and worldwide, I'm assuming, and what things in your life do you think brought you to this point?
Sure. Well, for years I've wanted to be a political commentator, and a part of being a political commentator is understanding and researching domestic and foreign politics. And in about August of last year, before October 7th, I just felt that it was imperative that I learned more about conflicts around the world, and I decided to research the Israel-Palestine conflict. By the time October 7th happened, I was already making videos and posting them on my YouTube channel about the conflict. And the more I researched, the more I became, the more pro-Palestine I became, and the more I saw a need for a Palestinian state.
Mr. Yousef, I'm going to ask you the same question. I kind of led into this in the introduction, but could you tell us a little bit more about what led you specifically to become the advocate you've been for peace and for, all the things you say?
First of all, good evening to everyone. I never claimed that I'm an advocate. I don't advocate on behalf of any cause. I think it's total idiotic to advocate on behalf of anything. I only represent myself, and I only speak on my own authority. And if I know, I say I know. And if I don't, I'm not afraid to say I don't know. So tonight here, I'm only representing myself, no one else. Not inside this room, not outside of this room.
We had a debate up in Berkeley, and I asked this question, kind of like this question to start off with, and I'm going to ask it again here because I want to hear what you have to say, Mr. Doyle. What is a Palestinian?
Well, this is an important question. We're talking about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. So knowing what a Palestinian is vital. The PLO charter, and actually the Hamas charter in 2017, defines a Palestinian as anybody who lived in Palestine and their descendants before 1948 and who identified as Palestinian before then. But since then, since 1948, the idea of what a Palestinian is has changed. And in order to accurately answer the question, we have to understand what a nation is and if Palestine is actually a nation. A nation is made up of, as we know, of either an ethnic connection or a cultural or a connection to language to one people, which is, of course, manifested in a word, in this case, Palestine. In the case of Israel, it's Israel. In the case of any other nation, it is whatever you use to define that nation. Now, whatever you think about the way that the Palestinian nationality came to be and what a Palestinian and how the Palestinians came to identify themselves as Palestinians, well, as of right now, it's irrelevant because the Palestinian national identity is one of the strongest and most prevalent, really across the world, a lot due to this current ongoing conflict. And so a Palestinian is anybody who has heritage in the land who identifies as Palestinian. It's probably the simplest way of describing it.
I thought for many years that I was Palestinian before I dropped that identity. And today I take it very seriously because Palestine or Palestinian is an ideology, political ideology that is affiliated with so much violence, aggression, violation of human rights, and it does not represent ethnicity. It's not a nation. It was never a country. It's not a religion. It's not a distinct language. All I know that it was a colonial entity that lasted 25 years, approximately 25 years, since 1922 to 1948. So a colonial entity. Jewish people, Druze, Arabs, Christians were called Palestinians prior to the establishment of State of Israel or the independence of the Jewish people and the partition plan. So even the Israeli Prime Minister Golda Meir was considered Palestinian with a Palestinian passport issued by the colonial authority, the British Mandate of Palestine at that time. So, if we are talking about ethnicity, then it's the Arabs. That makes a lot more sense. They have the language, they have distinct language, they have a religion, they have a culture. Druze are ethnic group, Jewish people are ethnic group, but Palestinian, this is an ideology.
Time's up. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Am I allowed to respond to that?
Yes, you are.
So the categorization of Arabs as an ethnicity is not entirely correct, because an ethnicity is not just based on genetics. But even if it was, well, Palestinians are not genetically identical to Lebanese. They're not genetically identical to Saudi Arabians. They're certainly not genetically identical to Arabs in Oman or Yemen. There is actually distinct genetic differences between all these people. But even if there wasn't, it's important to understand that a nation, upon its conception, is not based on ethnic boundaries. Instead, a nation is created, whether it be through administrative lines, the allegiance to the same leader, whatever. An ethnic base is then realized on top of that. So whether Palestinians are identical to Saudi Arabians or Jordanians, it's not really relevant. What's relevant is that a Palestinian national identity, of which nobody can deny, has formed. It started forming in the early 1900s. And it has been prevalent ever since then. And it is more powerful now maybe than it has ever been. But then to say that because a Palestinian national identity formed only in the early 1900s and that people didn't call themselves Palestinian before then, again, is irrelevant, because we don't say that Germans aren't German because people called themselves Prussian before 1871. Likewise, we don't say that Israelis aren't Israeli because Ashkenazi Jews in the Middle Ages didn't call themselves Israeli. It's kind of an irrelevant distinction, especially considering that a national identity, especially in terms of the nation state, only began, as an ideology, only began, 200 years ago? So to say that because Palestinians didn't call themselves Palestinian in the 1500s, it doesn't have anything to do with the Palestinian nationality.
I'm going to ask this of Mr. Yousef. If Hamas engages in actions that are considered violent or fatal, such as shooting rockets into Israel, breaching the Gaza border with Israel on October 7th to massacre Israeli civilians, launching rockets from areas of Gaza densely populated with Palestinian civilians, such as the recent 5-rocket launch from a humanitarian area in Gaza that was supposed to be off limits from the war. If they do that and then call their own civilians victims of genocide when Israel responds with bombs and military action that kill Hamas militants, as well as Palestinian civilians surrounding them, who are the Palestinian civilians the genocide victims of?
Look, Hamas' strategy is to sacrifice civilians. This is how they got the world's sympathy during the first, second, third, and fourth Gaza wars. And it paid off because it delegitimized Israel. It made Hamas lots of money. It gave them power. And they became a recognized authority on a regional level, also on a global level, as a legitimate resistance movement. So since then, Hamas knew when they built the tunnels beneath one of the most populated areas in the region. You think they did not have an idea that civilians will pay the price? They knew that. And also, who said that only Israel is killing civilians in Gaza? In the confrontation, in the shootouts, in the booby traps, Hamas is responsible, number one, for the atrocities of Gaza. And I think this is the problem with the anti-Israel, pro-Palestine movement, that they are in denial. They don't want to condemn Hamas for actually operating from populated areas and putting the civilians in the ways of harm. What are we expecting from any army trying to remove a bunch of savages from power? And there is no other way but to send foot soldiers. There is no other way but to confront, while the savages hide behind their own children. In the morning, they kill Jewish children for revenge, and in the evening, they kill their own children for propaganda. And this is how they brought the world to its knees, by harming civilians. This is the weapon in Hamas' hands.
Could you repeat the question?
I'll just repeat the last part of the question. Who are those Palestinian civilians that Mr. Yousef was just speaking about and I described as being, for example, in the humanitarian area of Gaza where rockets were launched from recently? And who are those Palestinian civilians, the genocide victims of? When we hear the word genocide used by many pro-Palestinian demonstrators.
In a scenario where Hamas militants are putting children on the rooftops of military command centers, well, then those specific deaths are the responsibility of Hamas. But the deaths of the people in Tel al-Satan, right, the 40 innocent civilians who were killed by an IDF strike with no Hamas military center anywhere near, that is the responsibility of Israel. And Karim al-Sharif, back in the early couple months of the war, where 106 civilians were killed, again with no military center anywhere near, those deaths are the responsibility of Israel. And in any hospital that Israel bombs, in any safe zone, in any evacuation route, all of which Israel has bombed not only a few times, but repeatedly throughout the conflict, that is not only unjustifiable, not only illegal under international law because of, well, a lack of proportionality, oftentimes the negligence of dropping leaflets, which is actually the bare minimum according to international law, but also because it is asymmetrical civilian targeted warfare, which has been Israel's strategy since 2006, which constitutes a genocide. But it's not only the killing of innocent civilians directly by with their 2,000-pound bombs in Gaza and the targeting of civilian centers, whether Hamas is there or not. The genocide really precedes this, or at least the evidence of genocide precedes this. Even in the past few years, when Israel would deliberately target Hamas commanders' houses, but they would deliberately target Hamas commanders' houses not when only the Hamas commander was at home, but when the entire family was home. And keep in mind, Israel knew, because of their artificial intelligence and their advanced and sophisticated weaponry, when the entire family would be home. They decided to destroy the house when the entire family was home, when they had the option not to. And so the deliberate targeting of innocent civilians by Israel is evident. But it is not just that. It is also the starvation of the Gazan people. And time's up, but we can probably get into the evidence for the starvation and for the targeting of innocent civilians.
So just to be clear, your position is that Israel is intentionally targeting civilians in Gaza?
Yeah.
Okay. Your response? Nope. We're not doing that.
We'll probably get to that, though.
We will. And you're going to get to it, too, when you have your chance. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Yousef.
Look, I don't think Israel would target civilians intentionally. That's not possible. First of all, it would be totally idiotic. Why Israel would want to target civilians to create so much enemies around the globe. I was part of the Israeli operation for about 10 years. And many times there were civilians involved and we canceled the operation. But the gravity of the situation in Gaza is completely different. When we have Hamas high-profile, dangerous terrorists who would hide in the tunnel for a long period of time, then Israel would have a shot. And now this Hamas top leaders go hiding behind civilians. Does that make them immune? This is a war. And in war, there are red lines that nobody should ever cross. But is there a war without collateral damage, without civilians dying in it, especially when the terrorists deliberately hiding among civilians, using hospitals, schools as operation rooms? I've been in those hospitals and in the schools right beneath in the tunnels. If I wasn't there myself, I wouldn't even speak about it. It's mind-blowing how Hamas constructed their entire operation beneath the most vulnerable areas on a purpose, because they wanted to drag Israel into such a dirty war to delegitimize Israel, to show that Israel is killing civilians. And what you are doing and the pro-Palestine doing here in the United States, you are falling into Hamas trap. There is no way Israel want to harm any civilian on a purpose. But Israel, do you think, is not aware that civilians being harmed? And it's a tragedy for Israel, what's happening.
I can respond to that if
You probably have a chance in the next question. Go ahead.
Well, sure. The proposition that Mosab has put forth is that Israel is not intentionally targeting civilians. Unfortunately, that goes against the Israeli strategy in the region. Now, keep in mind that the whole idea behind Zionism, behind a Jewish state, is a Jewish majority. So I actually don't think that genocide is necessarily always going to be the conclusion of Zionism, because most of the time it's going to be something along the lines of ethnic cleansing. But if Israel wants to actually fulfill their goals of a Jewish state in the land, in the Holy Land, then ethnic cleansing is necessary for that goal. Unfortunately for Israel, and certainly unfortunately for the Gazans, is that creating a refugee crisis, which was the intention of Zionists like Jabotinsky and Theodore Herzl, and of course David Ben-Gurion, and many of the early prime ministers, and certainly Benjamin Netanyahu right now, creating a refugee crisis is impossible because of the refusal of the Arab states around them to actually take in refugees. The result is that the only way to perform ethnic cleansing is through deliberate murder of civilians, which is what Israel is doing right now. And the evidence for that, I've already outlined, that they target buildings where there are no Hamas military centers, but also they target buildings, whether there are Hamas militants in there or not, that the targeting of which is illegal under international law. It is the targeting of a population center, regardless of whether it's a military target, without regard to proportionality. We could probably get into proportionality at some point later in the discussion, but again, there is no excuse for the deliberate starvation of the population, which is one of the things that constitutes genocide, which nobody can defend and nobody can say it's because they don't want Hamas to survive or to thrive, because bread and water and cookies don't do anything for Hamas. They only allow the Palestinian population to not starve to death.
I'm going to, since we're going off schedule here, you can respond to that in a couple of minutes.
So you say that you have evidence. How can you explain the 2 million Arabs who live in Israel? And if there was ethnic cleansing, where did they come from?
Well, absolutely.
You got your opportunity. And do you think that the ethnic cleansing started on October 7? You know, what was prior to that? Israel allowed the Gazans to come work into Israel, gave them job opportunity in the tens of thousands, and gave them all the rights of any manpower in the country. And that includes the West Bank. We have 2 million Gazans, but also we have 3.5 million West Bankers. And do you think Israel needed October 7 to happen so they can start the process of ethnic cleansing through bombing the shit out of people in Gaza? If there was an ethnic cleansing, it would have taken place over 70 years, and today you wouldn't find any Arab in the region. The ethnic cleansing actually took place in the Arab countries. Show me how many Jewish people are in the West Bank or in Gaza. Show me how many Arabs are in any Jewish in the Arab countries.
There are 400,000 Jewish people in the West Bank right now. They're settlers.
Yeah. Hold on.
No, there's 400,000 in the West Bank.
Hold on. No. Aidan. No interruption. Let him finish. You'll have your chance. You're going to have plenty of chances.
He's talking about the Samaritans.
The settlers.
Yes, those are in Shechem. Well, those are under the protection and the authority of the Israeli defense forces. Okay, they have their own community. They are on the top of a mountain. They don't go into the Palestinian territories. I'm talking about any Jewish person in Ramallah, in Hebron, in Jenin. If any Jewish person go into these areas, they would be killed mercilessly. And also I'm talking about the Arab countries. I'm talking about where are the Jews in Jordan? Where are the synagogues? The Jewish people left the synagogues erected when they evacuated Gaza. You know what the Gazans did to the synagogues? They demolished them. First they burned them, then demolished them to erase every Jewish trace in the region. So when we talk about ethnic cleansing, we need to be very careful, because if your house of glass, don't throw stones on other people's houses.
Yeah, so you'd have to answer the question then. Was the removal of Jewish people from Gaza, was that a result of the IDF removing them in 2005, or is that a result of Hamas pushing them out? It was a result of the IDF pushing them out in 2005. Then you asked the question about are there Jewish people in the West Bank? Well, Area C is a part of the West Bank. It is an occupied territory. And there are 400,000 Jewish settlers there. I don't know why anybody would dispute that. That's just a fact. But then you talk about why are there still 2 million Israeli Arabs living in Israel right now. Well, it's important to understand what the goal of Zionism was. Because the goal of Zionism has never been to eliminate every single Arab ever. It's never been to even ethnically cleanse every single Arab from Palestine. The whole goal of Zionism, having a Jewish state, was to just have a Jewish majority state. And if you actually understand the roots of Zionism, you'll understand that it was totally acceptable for the early Zionists to have, say, 2 million Arabs living in Israel, as long as there were many, many, many more Jewish people. So Zionism is both conducive to ethnic cleansing and to the reality of the situation, which is, of course, ethnic cleansing, which is that 2 million Arabs have been allowed to remain in Israel. It's not about getting every last Arab out of Israel. It's more about maintaining racial supremacy over Arabs in order so that the interests of the state of Israel and the Jewish people are maintained. It bears complete disregard to the Arab people in Israel and all the Palestinians, in Palestine. But even then, and we only have 30 seconds, so we can't get into all the evidence. We'll probably get into it later. But there's currently a covert ethnic cleansing campaign going on in Israel through discriminatory land policies, through things like the absentee property law in 1948, things like the admissions committee law, which don't allow Israeli Arabs in Israel to live in Jewish neighborhoods. We'll probably get into the evidence of all that later. There is ample evidence that Israel is slowly but surely discriminating against the Israeli Arab population in Israel in order to either force them out or in order to stop the population growth.
Okay. We're going to talk. In order to give this a little more back and forth, I'm going to ask a question that does deal with Zionism, since you just brought that up. And it was interesting to me that you said, I don't remember the exact word, but it sounded like you said there's lack of consideration of the Palestinians. Is that accurate, what you said?
Well, yeah. I mean, in Israel, they're called Israeli Arabs, but most of them identify as Palestinians in Israel.
Okay. So how do you, Mr. Yousef, define this term that is used a lot, which is settler colonial state. Israel, as to Israel.
Well, I think if there is any colonizer, there are the Palestinians. Those are the ones who are identifying with a colonial entity, and those are the ones who want the ethnic cleansing of the Jewish people from the land. This is the ideology of the real colonizers. It's actually made up by colonial power. This is where Palestine came from, and this is what attracted Yasser Arafat, and what has been attracting many fanatics to identify as Palestinians. But in Israel, I see all type of ethnic groups. They have equal rights. In fact, the Arabs in Israel have equal rights with less responsibility because they don't defend the country. Not all of them volunteer in the IDF, and it's not mandatory for the Arabs to serve in the IDF. And that's the riskiest job any ethnicity in Israel is doing. So the allegations of apartheid and ethnic cleansing, I think they are baseless. Decent citizens have equal rights. Those who show loyalty to the country, to the constitution, to the major interest of the country. Not the ones who are troublemakers who belong to foreign entities and they serve the interest of any outside authority. So we can have stories about people who violate the Israeli laws, and therefore they are not treated like decent citizens. Basically, they are criminals or terrorists.
Well, there's a lot to respond to there. The first is the idea that for whatever reason, the Palestinian farmers and shepherds and the Palestinian farmers and shepherds early on in the 1900s are somehow settlers, or that they're descended from settlers, which is absurd because, well, if it was whatever Arab dynasties in the 600s that colonized Palestine, and therefore the Palestinians are descended from Arabs that colonized the land, well, it's absurd because that doesn't allow you to take away their human rights. But it's also absurd because 80% of Palestinian DNA is actually Levantine. So it makes no sense whatsoever to call them colonizers because in no sense of the word are they. But now to talk about the whether Israel is a settler colonial state, well, to colonize a land means, and this is just a definition, it means of a people to go to a land and colonize it. And to go to land and to settle there. Whether Jewish people are indigenous to land or not, and whether Palestinians are indigenous to the land or not, that does not actually preclude them from being colonizers because they are of a people, of the Jewish people, who went to Palestine and settled there. And you don't have to listen to me, you can listen to the early Zionists who use the same verbiage of colonize, settle, colonialist. It's written there in their own words.
So, I have a couple questions I just want to ask you right now in response to what you just said. Wasn't it true that the word colonial or colonist had a different sort of meaning back in the early 1900s than it's taken on in recent decades with this idea of settler colonialism, which has been defined, as I've read, as agents of a mother country or sponsor that are coming to a foreign land to settle it, and not just that, that's just the first part, and the second part being, and to remove the indigenous population. So can you explain how you think Israel or Zionism really, or Israel, is a settler colonial state with that definition?
Sure. So first of all, I actually forgot to mention something in Mosab's previous statement, which is that Israeli Arabs live with equal rights in Israel. Well, this is just patently untrue, and we can get into why that's untrue in a second.
But let's keep on that one question. Yeah.
Sure, because I'm sure we'll get to why Israeli Arabs are being discriminated against systematically in Israel. But to define Israel as a settler colonial state based on people who are foreign to the land, coming to the land and moving the native population, well, none of us, we all know what the Nakba is, which is the removal of 700,000 ethnically Palestinian people from the land of Palestine and forcing them out into either Lebanon or Jordan or the West Bank, which became Jordan, or Gaza, which became Egypt. So that absolutely did happen. And if you're talking about foreign to the land, I
didn't just say foreign land. I said mother country sponsor.
Oh, yeah. So,
yes.
Well, if you look up the definition of to colonize, which any of you can do right now, it's of a people to go to a land and settle it. You don't actually need a mother country to colonize. You only need a mother country to become a colony, and nobody calls Israel a colony. So in that sense, just definitionally, it was and still is a colonialist entity. But in terms of being foreign to the land, it doesn't really matter how far back you can trace your ancestry to the land. I'm not indigenous to Africa, even though all people came to Africa. It's kind of a ridiculous statement.
Have you ever been to Israel?
No. No, but I'll say.
You say what?
What is happening in Israel and Palestine doesn't care whether I've been there or not. It's the reality, whether you like it or not. You can say what you want. You can say what you want. The evidence speaks for itself. The evidence speaks for itself, because when you murder innocent civilians, it doesn't care whether Aidan Doyle goes to UCLA or not. It cares whether innocent civilians are murdered or not. It doesn't care whether Mosab was born in Palestine. It cares whether innocent civilians were murdered or not. That's the reality. It doesn't matter where I come from or where Mosab comes from.
Please, okay. People. So, I have to ask you. Sorry, Mr. Yousef. There's nobody's dying in this room by hearing some words. So let's just take a breath, and we'll let them
Half
speak.
the people in Israel don't know the history of their own country. It doesn't matter. Who cares?
Okay. No. Okay. Please.
No. You have to understand that. You have to understand that the actual reality. It doesn't matter where you come from. You can still understand what is happening. Because it doesn't care. Because it doesn't care. It doesn't care who.
Stop.
Whether somebody dies or not. If I'm born in the United States, it doesn't affect whether somebody dies in Palestine. You don't understand that. You don't understand that.
You're gonna get to ask him whatever you want afterwards.
Okay? We will have Q&As, guys, after.
Facts matter. Facts do matter. Facts matter. Facts don't change if I was born in Palestine or born in the United States. They don't change. They don't change.
Okay, and what's the source of your information? What's the source of your information?
Is Benny Morris okay? Is that a good source?
Give me a legitimate book, and I would like to know an author that has the legitimacy, that they have studied, and they have the authority to speak on the topic. Name 3 books as source of your information.
Yeah, sure. The Nation Forum by Rashida Khalidi.
By who?
Rashida Khalidi.
And who is that? I never heard of this woman.
He was actually he was part of the peace process in the 90s.
Okay.
But you don't know about him. That's fine. I still respect your opinion. It doesn't mean that you're wrong just because you don't know a single author, okay? That's fine. I can go on. Benny Morris, The Righteous Victims, 1948. Both of those books, does that satisfy you, or do you want me to keep on going?
Keep going.
Or do the facts change depending on how many books I've read? I could also talk about I think it's called Creating a Nation by Aidan Doyle, or I could talk about Shlomo Sand, a Tel Aviv author who wrote The Invention of the Jewish People, an Israeli Tel Aviv author. If your point is that what I'm saying is not right because I haven't read enough books, well, you're wrong on both counts.
Okay. First of all, all the books that you read looks like going only in one direction, to delegitimize Israel.
Do you know who Benny Morris is?
I don't need to know. I think you're just making up stuff.
Or the making of the Israeli nation.
And I think
Making of the Israeli Nation. Do you know that book, or are you just uneducated?
Look,
what's the
answer?
Listen.
Listen, what did I tell you from the beginning of this conversation? I don't need to read books to know my
You
land.
don't need to read books, but
I don't
do.
need. I write the books. I write them.
All right.
I live
all right.
the experience. I am the author.
All the credibility you gained.
I am not a second-hand knowledge.
All of the credibility that you gained by living in Palestine was taken away from you when Israel put you on their paycheck.
Okay. All right. All right. We're gonna.
Okay.
Do
you have evidence that I have a paycheck from Israel?
You worked for Israel for 6 years. It's
Do you have
in your biography.
What's your evidence?
So you weren't paid to work for Israel. You just did it willingly.
Well,
exactly.
Okay. First of all, if you want to take personal aim, I can take you on a rabbit hole that you will never get out of it.
Good. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I have been patient and respecting you. You know why? Because you're just an arrogant student with no knowledge, with no life experience, advocating on a very dangerous cause, being a useful idiot in the hands of terrorists, creating trouble, putting encampment, breaking the law, advocating on behalf of a terrorist organization designated by the American law as a terrorist organization, makes you a terrorist. So if you want to talk about personal things, you challenge me for doing a legitimate work for a democracy to save human lives, and you want to reduce my effort to say that I got paid 10 years fighting and chasing after terrorists who blow up, killed Americans, Israelis, Arabs, Muslims, all type of people indiscriminately. Do you think you can sit here and judge me and tell me it's like you did for money?
When you say you're fighting for Israel, would you say that you're advocating for them?
I told you I only represent myself.
So you're not fighting for Israel.
And you don't have the authority to sit there and judge, tell me I took money or I did not take money. This is not your business.
No, you did take money. That's a fact, and that's fine.
This is not your business.
You took money from Israel, and that's okay. You're a propagandist for Israel. That's just a fact, and it's the reality of the situation. But again, I don't know how many times. I don't know how many times I have to say. I don't know how many times I have to say. I can speak from my own authority. I can speak from the authority of historians. I can speak from the authority of the thousands of Palestinians who live in Palestine, who are actually living there right now. Because at the end of the day, the reality of the situation doesn't care about Aidan Doyle or Mosab Yousef. Whether there's a genocide going on, which there is, it doesn't matter whether I was born in the United States or not. It is simply the reality. And you can check all my sources. You can go read.
Define a genocide. Define a genocide. You speak of what is genocide?
Oh, sure. The killing of a whole or a part of a population with intent. Well, are you happy?
Do you
not think I'd...
This is not what a genocide is.
That is the definition of a genocide.
Mr. Doyle, let me ask you something.
I'm sorry that you don't know what the definition of a genocide is, but that is the reality.
Let me ask you something.
With intent based on what? Based on their ethnicity, based on their religion, based on their culture?
Based on their national identity as Palestinians.
Well, Palestine is
but you can talk about intent. I mean, we can start naming names. We can go back to Emily Eliyahu, who wanted to nuke Gaza. We can go back to Theodore Herzl, who wanted to remove all of the Gazans from all the Palestinians from Palestine. We could go back to the Mowing the Lawn initiative, which is high-frequency, civilian-targeted, asymmetrical warfare that targets civilian infrastructure.
Right.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you go.
Do you think?
It doesn't matter where you go. There is intent.
One moment. Do you think you are smarter than the judge of the ICC who just said that what happens in Gaza is not a genocide?
Do you mean the ICJ?
The ICJ, yeah. Do you think you are smarter than the judge?
Absolutely not. Do you think you're smarter than the judge?
I am not smarter than the judge, and the judge said what's happening in Gaza is not a genocide.
No. Well, actually, that's not true. What they said, well, for one, the determination as to whether a genocide is going on actually hasn't been deliberated, so you're just spreading misinformation. What they said was that the rights... What they said was that the rights of the Palestinian people, especially the rights of the people of Gaza, are at risk of, their rights to not be genocided are at risk of being infringed. And they said that in order for Israel to comply with international law in all three resolutions that they have released, they had to do a number of things. They had to stop targeting civilian population centers. They had to stop starving the population, which includes arresting the people who were stopping the aid from getting into Gaza, which they haven't done. And they also had to not invade Rafah. None of those three things they have done. And so when Mosab says that Israel is, that the ICJ has said that Israel is not committing genocide, they made no such determination. The actual determination will come out in probably 2 or 3 years.
You talked about Herzl as one of your people, as Zionist and founding people of Israel, as intentionally removing Arabs from the area. And there's I was reading about this because Mark Lamont Hill at the Berkeley debate brought up the same point. And I looked it up, and I read that Theodor Herzl had a famous letter to an Arab notable, Yusuf Zia al-Khalidi, and he wrote, quote, "Who would think of sending Palestinian Arabs away? It is their well-being, their individual wealth that we would increase in bringing our own." So how do you jibe that with that he was an intentional, ethnic cleansing or genocide?
So if you actually read other letters, what he said was, and look, it wasn't actually as bad as what's happening, to be fair to Theodor Herzl. He was actually what's known as he was a political Zionist. He was fairly liberal for the time. He believed that, he said in other letters that we need to stop giving them jobs. We need to make sure that they don't have a livelihood here, and that we need to make sure that in other Arab countries that that they do have a livelihood in order to convince them to leave. So it was a sort of soft ethnic cleansing, if that makes you feel any better. But then you also mentioned how Theodor Herzl said that we would bring civilization to the Palestinians. Well, this is reminiscent of Christian missionaries who talked about Africans as if they were savages, as if they were uneducated, as if they needed Christianity and Western civilization to be brought to them so that they could tame them. It is an extremely racist ideology, that one that was inherent to Zionism, as they believed that they would be bringing civilization to the Palestinians, that they would be improving their lives. And when in actuality, they removed them, they killed them en masse, and they put them in concentration camps.
Okay, so how do you and I want to hear what you say, but how do you reconcile that statement with the Nakba claim? And it's not a claim; it's a word that is used as a catastrophe by the Palestinians when they left the land of what is now Israel at the Declaration of Independence of Israel, and they were largely in camps in Jordan, refugee camps in Jordan, and I think Gaza, and now those are villages. What do you make of the fact that Israel was attacked immediately upon the declaration of its independence, and that it's pretty clear in the record that these Palestinian Arabs were told by these Arab countries surrounding them to leave lest they be harmed during the attack? What do you make of that?
Well, yeah, so the countries of Egypt, the countries of Jordan, the countries of Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, the countries that attacked during 1948, they're not Palestine. They're actually different countries. But then the assertion that Palestinians left during the Nakba willingly, well, some left willingly because they were being harassed and terrorized in the streets by the Irgun and the Lehi and the Haganah. But over 400 villages were destroyed, hundreds of thousands were forced out. But it wasn't just through force and through brutal terrorism that these groups inflicted upon Palestinians living in Palestine at the time. It was also through legal means, with the absentee law, declaring any house that was empty to be declared the state of Israel's, and that they then moved Jewish tenants in, or through the cancellation of the Ottoman Empire, the permits that were given during the Ottoman Empire, most of which were Palestinian homes. When this happened, the Palestinians were evicted and Jewish tenants moved in. So, I mean, sure, some left willingly, but you have to ask, was it willing, or were they being terrorized and then they decided to leave? Now, then also the claim that the Arab leaders told Palestinians to leave because they'd be able to return later. Well, that's true, but it accounts for a couple thousand, maybe 20,000, as compared to like 700,000 that were
Where are you
forced
getting
out.
that fact from?
What were your numbers?
Well, no, what I'm asking you, where were you getting that fact from?
It's just general knowledge.
What? Well, I mean, it's important. It's important. It's okay.
If you have a more accurate number, tell me.
I'm not. It's not. This is not my. I'm not debating here. I'm just asking questions.
Oh, sure. So, well, the number of 700,000. Do you agree with that number?
I do agree with that.
The number of a couple thousand, if not tens or 20,000s. I mean,
Okay, but
deliberately general because I don't know the exact.
Right? You do agree that it's really, really important when we're saying these things. Let me finish. because we've been listening to you. And it's really, really important when you make these statements, which are affecting people's lives in the world, that we are accurate in our facts. And so I'm not criticizing you right now. I'm just asking you where your source is. I really want to know.
No, if you have a more accurate number, you can tell
Okay,
me.
thank you. It's okay.
Well, how much is it? How much is it? Because if was it 700,000 that were told by the Arab population to leave?
Mr. Yousef might be able to tell, and an academic in the audience or somebody who knows might be able to tell. But
no, because
it's
it's important to recognize that just because I don't remember a source from a research that I did 8 or 9 months ago doesn't mean that the reality isn't the case.
Okay.
But if it was 10,000, well, that's important. That means that only 690,000 Palestinians were forced out of their homes.
Well,
it doesn't make a big difference.
These are hypothetical situations, but we really want to deal with facts when we're dealing with human lives. Let's, Mr. Yousef, do you have a response to what he's been saying? Yeah. Shh, you'll ask him that afterwards, right? Yeah, keep your questions. Remember your questions. Write them down.
Look, people who are in the territory, they have ownership to their property. Nobody's coming to take their property from them. My father is a Hamas leader. Israel never came and said, oh, you Hamas, give me your house. Our neighbors, our entire town, people own their property. They've been there before I was born. They're still in their households. Nobody's forcing them out of their houses. Prior to the Palestinian Intifada in 1987, we were able to move freely, travel outside the country, go to Tel Aviv, go to the beach, go everywhere. We did not have even one checkpoint. Things only changed when Yasser Arafat pushed the indoctrination of Palestine on the kids, shutting down the schools, exactly what you are doing here on campus, shutting down the school and building encampment to disturb the student life for the sake of Palestine, a foreign entity that you don't understand, that you've never been there, that you think that it ever existed, that you think that there is occupation, that you think you know better than the judge, and you say that there is a genocide, that the verdict is going to come sometime in the future, God knows when. So you created this narrative in your head based on YouTube and TikTok videos. Then you claim that you educated yourself from legitimate resources. But I tell you, we as the people, the Arabs who live in that land, nobody ever took my house, even though we are Hamas. And nobody has the right to take your property. You have your name to it, then it's yours. And there are millions of people like this. So all your claims are baseless. And I invite you to visit the place to begin with, so you can have a direct experience.
I'm going to move on.
I can respond to that.
You can respond to everything. You are Einstein. Such an arrogant generation.
I don't think that helps. I think it
does.
I don't think it does.
I think just an idiot. This is what it is.
He's not an idiot. He's obviously a very intelligent guy.
So you can call me TikTok watcher. You can call me Gen Z. You can call me arrogant. What you can't do is respond to the facts.
What facts?
Well,
what facts?
To be fair, we need facts, and that's what I was kind of asking you about. So,
well,
the fact that I was born there and you weren't. The fact that you have a second-hand knowledge.
No. The fact that
you think saving human life is treason.
No, not the fact of where either of us were born. I don't think the reality would change if I was born in Zimbabwe. The reality would change. If I was born in a different country. Oh, that's nonsense. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. No. What the facts that you can't respond to are the deliberate targeting of hospitals that do not have military centers in them, like Karim al-Sharif, like Tel al-Satan, like the evacuation routes that were bombed by Israel. And this is not according to me. This is according to the UN.
All right, listen, Mr. Doyle. Let me just take control here for a second. You made your point. I don't know if you had something to say just quickly in response to that, because we gotta move on.
Okay, targeting hospitals. It's evident. And I told him that I have a first-hand experience, but it looks like no matter what I say, he's going to say, you are paid. You're on a payroll. You're advocating on behalf of the Zionists. And he will continue to be in his denial for eternity. This is a phenomenon of useful idiots that they're advocating on behalf of a dangerous organization. They're bringing chaos, intifada, to the United States of America because the government is not taking care of this business. Naturally, the Department of Homeland Security would persecute anyone who's given a material support to a terrorist organization. This is the natural environment. But now it looks like it grow so wild that people like him has the audacity to talk to someone who risked his life on a regular basis to save human lives. This is what we did. I lost my entire family, the wealth of Hamas. Did you know that I managed Hamas money? Do you know how much money is that? You would sell your mother for that kind of money. Hamas money was under my authority. If I wanted the money, I would have stayed there. You tell me about a paycheck coming from Israel. You're totally mistaken, son. At the beginning, I respected you and I gave you the opportunity because we have to build a dialogue, but it looks like you only have accusations and you're contradicting yourself. And when an eyewitness come to you, you don't have even facts. And you're very disrespectful to some of the hostages in the audience.
Look,
you're very disrespectful.
I'm very sorry for calling you a TikTok user, arrogant, an idiot. No, that's what you called me. I'm sorry.
Because
that was actually the personal insults that you
This is what you are.
I haven't used any personal insults towards you. So.
All right, let's just take a breath right now. So I'd like to go a little bit off script here before we get into question and answer, and I would like to invite up her, if she will, Moran Stella Yanai, who was released by Hamas as a hostage in Gaza in November, I believe it was. Stella, I want you to sit here. I'm going to go over there, okay? Because I'd like you to sit with Mr. Doyle and Mr. Yousef. And you can take my microphone for right now. You can sit next to her there. I'll sit over here.
You just made me take a huge breath before there, because I really want to talk to you from an eye level, you know? No, it's okay. It was only for him. It was not for you.
I guess I just would ask you the simple question of what do you want the world to know? What do you want Mr. Doyle to know about what happened to you and what maybe things that people are not aware of?
So first of all, I want to ask you, please do not clap your hands and do not react to anything I'll say now. I really ask that. I don't know, the vast majority here seems to be us against one agenda, and I want it to be very, very clear between us, because I really, really want to talk to you in an eye level, and I want to tell you a story if you want to hear it.
Look at her.
I was kidnapped. First of all, I want you to know that I didn't watch the news for 11 years. Because I don't believe the news can bring you positivity in life, really. I choose the context that I watch for 11 years. I'm an artist. I served the army 22 years ago. I served Givati, which is a unit that held the Gaza line. 22 years ago during the war Chomat Magen, if you heard about that. After a few years, I chose to be kind and better to myself. Therefore, I left the dream that I had to become Shabak or a soldier again or this and that, and chose to become an artist. I have all the signs on me. I had an Arabic necklace on me. I had the Indian Ganesh tattoo on me. I had Pharaoh on my fingers because I'm half Egyptian and half Moroccan, but I'm Jewish. Okay? And I have the letter I got on my hand. You know why? Because I believe in coexisting. Did you know that the vast majority of the hostages believes in coexisting? So I'm an artist, and on October 7th, I went to fulfill my dream. I went to make my dream come true. I've worked on that dream many, many years, but I didn't went through with it. I didn't believe that my dream will come out. I want to tell you that my best friend, she's Jewish, and she's married to an Arab person. She lives the front door, on my front door. She's my neighbor. I want you to know that my suppliers, my jewelry suppliers, are Egyptian and Arabs. I want you to know that half of my friends believe in coexisting, and we do have Arab friends between us. That's how I lived my entire life. I live in Beersheba, which is a coexisting city. Many people in Beersheba are Arabs. I don't know where you are talking about, and I invite you, seriously, I invite you to come to my country, and I promise you that I will hold your hand and walk you through it. And if you'll find anything with what you said in Israel, I will do anything you want. I will trust your agenda. When I was taken to Gaza, I was kidnapped. I was caught 3 times. And the last time, I was caught by 13 Hamas terrorists. 13. You doesn't have to. Don't force him. I just want him to hear it. He's a person. He is entitled to have his own agenda and opinions. We do not have to have the same opinions. I just want you to know the facts that you talked about, really. Right before the debate started, I wanted to ask you where you're from. Are you from here, from the US? Okay, I visited the US. I have the facts because I've been here. Have you visited Israel before? No. Have you visited Gaza before? Probably not. When he asked you what is a Palestinian and you couldn't answer it, then I'm asking you what is a Gaza civilian? Can you answer me? I will answer to you. When you're advocating for that, and I'm telling you, you're advocating for not have rights, for women to not have rights, because women do not have rights in the Arab society. You're advocating for people, you're talking about genocide. Well, I'm here to say, when October 7 happened, and that's a fact, they told me it in the inside. They didn't know about the Nova Festival music. They didn't know that we have 3,000 people in there. They planned, and they told me that, they planned to move on and kill as much as they could in Beersheba, in Tel Aviv, in Haifa. They wanted to slaughter everybody. You know what? Maybe you will not believe me. I can present to you my videos that I took there. Do you know how many bodies I saw? Sorry, I didn't see it, my friends. Do you know how many bodies were there? Do you know how much violence was taken on me? I was caught in the middle of a lynch. I was presented as a soldier because I chose to wear green army look-alike uniform that day, by mistake. I was categorized as a soldier, and I was treated as a soldier. I'm 40 years old. Look at me, I'm 40 years old. I have a dog and a cat. I had 2 cats, I lost one. I have a mother and a father and a sister and a brother that left their entire lives to try to help me. My mother found out, and if to be specific, my 12-year-old niece, I don't know if you have nephews, But my 12-year-old niece found out a video on TikTok. That's how my parents found out that I was kidnapped. Did you know that? Because I wish that we can have a private conversation, not with this whole audience, because it's terrifying me to hear people have that thoughts. And I really want to hear your side. I swear, really. That's me, that's my agenda of coexisting. But I'm asking you, do you deny that October 7th happened? Basic answer, basic question.
No.
No, okay. Do you support the action of October 7th?
No, I know, and I never have supported the killing of innocent civilians.
What would happen if the army couldn't stop them and they would continue? Would you support that? We went to dance. We didn't attack.
Wait, you're asking me if I would support the continued killing of civilians on October 7th?
No, I
wouldn't.
You if
I wouldn't.
You support the actions of people going to music festival, which is supporting freedom. Don't get annoying. I'm really asking you as a person. Do you support those actions?
No, and I've already said I don't support the killing of civilians.
Okay. If you don't support those actions and October 7th didn't happen, would we sit here talking right now?
Well, yeah, actually, we probably would.
Yeah, you think so? Did you ever saw our people attacking that amount of people from the start, from our side? I'm asking simple question. I don't understand in politics.
Yes.
Yes? Have you seen it firsthand?
You mean, okay, you keep on going. Do you mean, was I in Gaza when they were attacking during Operation Protective Edge? I can't really.
When I was entering Gaza, and I told you before, I have Arab suppliers, I have Arab neighbors and Arab friends. When I was entering Gaza, and there is a video of that, I saw 100% of civilians celebrating me being taken. I didn't know about the other hostages. I thought it was only me. I didn't know about that. All I saw is 100% of civilians lynching me, beating me up. I was with a broken leg. I had bruises all over my body. Do you know that I've never cursed them? I've never argued with them, and I've never treated them like garbage. I respected them, even when they abused me. Because I believe that if I want to be respected, I have to respect everybody else. So I'm asking you one thing and one thing only, because I see you're not comfortable. I'm asking you to check facts on both sides. It makes life better. And I had the privilege to be on both sides. And I told you, I started from a place that I didn't watch the news for 11 years just because of that. Talk to people. Private conversation. That's the real facts. That's for me. Don't clap.
All right. Thank you, Moran.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry for what you experienced, but
That's why I really would be honest with you if we will have a private conversation. That's right.
you mean after this?
Whatever you want, you can text, you can zoom in, you can do whatever you want. Whatever's comfortable for you. I really want to listen. I really want to do.
You know what? I wish him all the pain of the victims of this conflict on both sides. No.
And wish that to anyone.
He sooner or later is going to realize this for just being in such denial. And I respected you. You did not have to go to the personal stuff to tell me if I'm paid or not. I gave you the opportunity to represent your case. You did not need to attack me personally.
Well, we can get more into that.
More into what?
Take a picture.
No, not right now, please, because we will create chaos. Just maybe after.
All over. The same purpose in life.
Can I clip this to your belt? Is that okay?
Yeah. It's written in so many different languages and styles, if you want to call it. You know, like I said, NLP. You know.
What the fuck we're doing here? I cannot believe, it just...
Those conversations, when you live them, I told you I lived in East Jerusalem, to speak with these people who, they wrote their own history. They literally made up their own books and histories.
I'm really reducing myself talking to this kid.
Calling yourself lies.
It's like he came really prepared.
He's reading.
No, what I mean by prepared.
He's reading.
He memorized the narrative, and he just even perfected more than those who been claiming it for 70 years. He knows a lot more than Yasser Arafat on Palestine. Only.
Take this whole effort, take it to a positive place.
The dialogue is not gonna work.
Never. I agree. There's no dialogue.
It's a dead end.
I can wear this if I work next to your friend.
I am a sellout for saving human lives, but he is the hero advocating on behalf of the victims.
Of course not.
So let's go like this for
it. That's wrong. But here's the thing.
When I see the
2024, there are Jewish people in the encampment. There are people who wear Stars of David in the encampment. There are people who have shirts that say Jews against genocide. It's not, especially the fact that Jewish people are discriminated against in Gaza and in the West Bank.
It's just wrong.
I
need the Sinwar here at point blank. And this is where we finish the business.
Problem.
Who kills who first, and we're done. But this dialogue, what's this?
You show it in a twisted way.
That we're supporting the...
Yeah, but it's not working this way. It can't work in this way. Wait. Listen, there is a war, physical war, right? Okay, but there is much worse and bigger war in the social media.
Where's David?
Are we by the young generation? Okay, I'm not even considering that a generation. I'm all to your generation. You have to use it better, wisely, because when you do that, it's like what happened today. When one is against one, and you have the vast majority here, they will clap hands together. That's why I asked them.
I know.
That's why I asked them not to clap hands. I don't need the support. I want you to understand that.
I want to see what. Yeah, I think so. I think so. But we want to make sure that there is no trap outside. Okay, probably if you have a car, maybe you can help me a little bit. Just get to a safe zone out of this danger zone. Then from there I can take it from there.
But going out from those universities, you'll become the leaders one day. Use it wisely.
But can you at least understand that some of what we're protesting is real and it's happening, and this is what we don't want to see happen?
You know what? It's happening in both sides. Reality check. It happens all over. There are bad people and good people in all the places.
Yes.
I'm here to say, you know what? I was in a building that has tons of children in it. Tons of children. And I couldn't see anything, okay? I could just hear. And when I heard them play in the street, it's like, it was part music of the day for me.
Thank you for coming up, and thank you
but
also
right now, because everybody will want to do that.
I appreciate it.
You know what? It took me an urge, but I'm thankful to myself that I didn't use it as in my angry way, because I'm a Moroccan. I can be really mad. Okay? No, but seriously, I really want you to hear me. I don't want you to yell at me. I don't want you to be mad at me. I really want to be able to stand next to you, have different opinions, but we can still live together.
Can you guys take your seats there? Back where you were.
No, that's...
You can continue talking. Have a seat.
Part of the mission of what we want to see accomplished is Jewish people and Palestinians living together.
Yeah, but it doesn't show. It's not showing. When you're blocking Jewish students for going into universities, and you can agree with me, that was the first step. That was the first step. That's violence, my friend. Even if it doesn't use violence, that's violence. What you did, is what happened to me. My freedom was taken. I couldn't choose and do what I want. They wanted to go to school. You took their freedom. That's the thing. You don't understand.
In that case, it's not really comparable because there were Jewish people in the camp. So the whole idea that they were stopped from going in because they were Jewish.
They were stopped because they're Jewish. It shows in the videos.
No, I was there.
Oh.
Yeah. They weren't stopped because they were Jewish.
All right, so we're
They were stopped because there was worry that they would be antagonists.
So obviously, Aidan Moran speaking here. 1 minute per question.
My question is to Mr. Mosab Hassan Yousef. As an Israeli, for a very long time, I feel extremely helpless, and I don't get any. I don't have much
What's the
motivation.
question?
I wanted to ask you, what would you say to the influencers, to the celebrities, to the surroundings, to the hadids, to all of them? What would you say to them? Because their voices is so loud and ours is so small.
Okay, thank you. And we'll just take a minute.
Yes. So we are dealing with a situation where a bunch of opportunists taking advantage of Palestine. All of a sudden, we have people so indoctrinated by artificial intelligence and by Hamas propaganda who just basically spreading false narrative. And it looks like they are a lot more educated than Yasser Arafat on the topic. So we have a new generation of people who live in virtual reality. Those are the influencers with tens of thousands of following. And they want to build encampment. He's building encampment on UCLA. And I say, what's next? Well, this was the situation in Gaza 70 years ago. They started with encampment, the loser victim mentality. They built encampment, then later on it became tunnels and launching missiles. So I say to this type of mentality, what's going to be next? Are you going to start digging tunnels here at UCLA and possibly launch missiles at Beverly Hills? This is the victim mentality that I'm totally against, and it cannot be legitimized. They have been, and he say, I don't validate the killing of civilians. But in the meantime, he thinks Hamas is resistance. And he thinks resisting occupation that never happened because Palestine never existed. He thinks that this is legitimate. So if it's not directly, indirectly, these influencers are complicit in Hamas crimes.
Do you have, Moran, do you have anything to say?
No,
You're okay.
I was not focusing on this question.
Mr. Doyle? You don't have to if you don't want to. We can go to another. Okay. Next question.
Thank you for being here. Very short question. This is for Mr. Doyle. What is a Zionist, and considering their historical and cultural ties to the land, as well as your view of justice, where should Jews and Israel go if the state of Israel was to no longer exist?
Thank you.
The Jews in Israel, if the state of Israel were to no longer exist, should stay there and should have equal rights under the law. That's why, at least, I'll answer the first question next. That's why, as somebody who identifies as pro-Palestinian and somebody who I think has the same views as many Americans on the topic, what we want to see is equal rights for everyone. And what we see now is that not being the case. Now, in terms of what is a Zionist, I mean, there's a bunch of different types of Zionists, but probably the most generic answer, and I'm guessing you want to know what, like the average, you all know what a Zionist is. You want to know what the average pro-Palestinian person in America thinks of a Zionist. It's just somebody who wants to establish a Jewish state in the land of, in the region of Israel and Palestine. I don't.
Wait, so where should the Jews in Israel go under your sense of justice?
Yeah, that was the last part of the question.
Yeah, that's what I answered first, is that they should stay essentially where they are and have equal rights under the law.
So should Jews be able to live in Palestine if there was a two-state solution?
If there was a yeah, of course.
Okay. Vita, your choice.
Hi, thank you all for being here. My question is for Mr. Doyle. I heard you mention the starving as a component of genocide, and I wanted to know, why is it Israel's burden to provide food to Gazans and not Hamas, the actual government of Gaza? Why do the three leaders of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, Musa Abu Marzouk, and Khalid Mashal, who are collectively worth $11 billion, not responsible for feeding their own people?
Right, so understanding why Hamas isn't able to feed their own people, you have to understand the agricultural situation of Gaza, which is that they're only agriculturally independent in two ways, and that's fruits and vegetables, which means that with the overpopulation of the land, 2 million people in a 25-mile strip, and with the relative lack of, certainly right now, agriculture, there's no growing of food whatsoever, being agriculturally and therefore being able to survive by themselves without any exports is actually impossible. Now, the reason for this dates back to 1967 when the occupation of Gaza began, and you can say whether it was an occupation or not. There were settlements in Gaza. They took 20% of the land and they imposed laws on Gaza that specifically prohibited new agriculture from flourishing in Gaza, which means that they did things like banning the planting of more than one tree. They made sure that all agricultural exports went through Israeli vendors. And so this, I don't think it's controversial to say, systemic repression of the agriculture of Gaza, and also the subsequent overpopulation of Gaza and the disallowing of really anybody to leave or anybody to get in, has resulted in a situation, mostly with regard to the actual survival of the Gazan people through food, that is completely untenable. And then you talk about why is it the Israel's responsibility to feed the people of Gaza? Well, it's Israel's responsibility because they were the ones who imposed the blockade in 2005. They're the ones who don't allow trade to happen. They're the ones who, maybe not entirely, but at least certainly is partially responsible for the economic devastation that's happened in Gaza, not just since October 7th, but before that as well. And also because before October 7th, 500 trucks, some of which were provided by Israel, a lot of which were provided by the UN, were driven into Gaza. And now the number is hovering around 160. Oxfam, as you probably know, has reported that there are some Gazan children surviving on less than 245 calories a day. But the responsibility, so whether Gazans are dying or not is absolutely true. The responsibility lies on Israel because of their actions with regard to Gaza in the past. Now, if you're saying that, I'll just finish really quick.
Just wrap it up. Yeah.
And I'll just finish really quick. If you're saying that the leaders of Hamas should do a better job of guiding Hamas or leading Hamas and taking care of the Palestinian people, I actually agree.
Okay. Hold on one second. Moran, you had a response.
I really want to comment on this subject specifically. I'm a skinny person, and I lost 12% of my body weight inside captivity while my guards was eating in front of my face. And I'm here to tell you that, like I was speaking to you privately before, as a soldier, I know how to observe, let's say it like that, okay? And I was tracking the merchandise that came, the brands of the food. It comes from the same place, okay? And that's the merchandise that they bring to support Gaza. Do you know who takes that merchandise? Do you know who has food all the time in their houses? Hamas soldiers. Of course, the civilians will not have it. And I moved 7 places, and I saw between 40 to 50 Hamas soldiers. They look good. They didn't lose weight.
No, I actually would agree with that Hamas should do a better job of taking care of their civilians. But what doesn't change the fact is that even if Hamas didn't hoard the food, if they do that to a large extent universally, even if they didn't do that, Hamas would still be starving. Gaza would still be starving. Sorry, Gaza would still be starving.
How that's true. They're working, they're going into Israel, they have their merchandise and the market. They told it themselves that the food got expensive now, not before. It was okay. The prices was okay. Did you know that they get discount in electricity that we don't get, and we support the electricity? Do you know that we pay more? I pay more as a citizen in Israel than the Gaza people. Did you know that? Probably not.
We give them electricity.
We give them the electricity and the water, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same electricity, right? I pay more.
No, yeah. They give electricity to Gaza, which I think kind of illustrates perfectly.
I didn't have electricity. Just saying. I sit in a dark room.
No,
okay?
I know. Hamas taking captives was horrible, and people who were responsible for that should be put in prison. But
all of them.
But the fact that Gaza has to be given electricity and they cannot sustain that by themselves is indicative of the horrific conditions of Gaza right now and before.
Is that okay? Let me just hold on a second. The thing that seems to be missing, and I'm not criticizing what you're saying. I'm just like noticing that the thing that's missing from your commentary is why, and why is there control of these things in Gaza? Is it just because Israelis don't like Gazans? Or is it because they're worried about their self-preservation and they have to control things to prevent things from coming over the border? Is that?
Well, as a part of controlling Gaza, they have completely decimated not only the civilian infrastructure, but the agriculture, the economy of Gaza. That's what I'm saying. As a part of controlling it, so. Destroying the agriculture of Gaza, as they did, as I said, 1967, has nothing to do with safety. So, if you're asking, is the reason that Israel has this embargo on Gaza because they're worried about their own safety? Well, there's two answers to that. Well, one, no, it clearly isn't, because they have put into place repressive policies in Gaza long before Hamas even existed. But secondly, that. And as we know, these kind of repressive policies only increase the hatred. If they wanted to actually make peace, then they wouldn't be instituting embargoes. Now, it goes beyond that the embargo in 2006 was actually in violation of the ceasefire that they signed with Hamas. And so Israel's consistent violation of ceasefire agreements and peace deals is something that's not talked about nearly enough, and indicates that Israel's not just worried about their own safety, they're worried about making sure that they maintain the discriminatory policies that oppress the Palestinians in Israel and in Gaza and in the West Bank.
I think. Hold on. I think I would like to ask you where you're getting that information from, because it seems like there's been quite a few breaches of ceasefires by Hamas that I don't hear any times that Israel is initiating those breaches. But and I know you disagree with me, but let's take some more questions. I just want to set the playing field here a little bit. So we're going to start limiting the answers to 2 minutes so we can get through this, because we want to really get all these people's questions answered. Yes, over here. We've got some people over here. Vita, could you got it? You got the mic? All right.
I have two questions for Mr. Doyle. I'll get them out as quickly as possible, and I hope you can answer both of them. Number one, you insistently evoke the Holocaust by accusing Jewish Israelis of genocide and putting Palestinians in concentration camps. The IHRA definition of anti-Semitism includes drawing comparisons of contemporary Israeli policy to that of the Nazis. So, do you A, believe the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance has misdefined anti-Semitism, or B, are you an avowed anti-Semite? That's A or B.
What's the definition?
It includes drawing comparisons of contemporary Israeli policy to that of the Nazis. You said you accused Jewish Israelis of genocide and putting Palestinians in concentration camps. So that's question one. That's just A or B. There's no option C. My second question is, there's an undeniable violent orthodoxy among your movement, and the encampment in particular, where anyone who advocates for the unconditional release of the hostages or the destruction of Hamas is physically attacked or blocked out of public spaces. So I'm grateful that you're here for a relatively civilized conversation, but how is your violent, exclusionist, anti-Semitic movement helping anything? And do you have a solution for the region and any ideas about the hostage crisis other than globalizing the Intifada?
Yeah, so the definition of anti-Semitism by what was it called? The
International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance.
International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. Yeah, that's ridiculous. You can compare... No, it is ridiculous. Well, because you can compare Trump to Hitler and nobody calls you, what, anti-Trump? It's just, or nobody calls you racist for that. It's ridiculous. You can compare the policies of modern governments, whether it's Israel, the United States, Britain, Iran, to anybody else. Now, keep in mind that Israel consistently compares Hamas to Nazis, and yet nobody calls them Islamophobic. So that's an absurd definition. Anti-Semitism, the hatred of Jewish people, not the comparison of one government to another. That's absurd. But secondly, So secondly, the encampment wasn't anti-Semitic. In fact, there were. No, it actually wasn't. I'm telling you, it wasn't. So in the encampment,
everybody saw it.
No, Jews were actually allowed to go to class.
So Eli was a Jewish soldier.
Yes, they were. I was in the encampment. You're wrong. Jews were allowed to go to class. Jews were allowed to go to class.
Hold on.
Jewish students were allowed to go to class, and there were. And on Wednesday, when the encampment was taken down, there were hundreds of Jewish students there.
How about Zionists? How about Zionists? Were Zionists led in the camp?
Actually, Zionists did into the encampment.
No. You let them in.
Agitators were removed. Yeah.
No. Zionists. Were Zionists allowed in the camp? Yes or no?
I am.
Zionists allowed in the camp? Yes or no?
Okay. One at a time. I know a lot of people want to talk to me.
Too many people. Please. Time's up. Okay.
Yeah.
The region.
We're asking people if they agree.
Yeah, we're gonna.
If they said yes, you wouldn't let them. Please stand behind that, because that's the truth.
That's not true.
Okay. All right. So you know what? Let me just ask a different thing here to you, Mr. Doyle. What do you think that your conduct and your encampment's conduct at UCLA would make Jewish students at UCLA uncomfortable enough so that they would be scared to walk to their class through the encampment or next to the encampment?
No.
Okay, did you ever experience any Jewish students expressing their fear or expressing their displeasure in it?
Not to me personally. I've seen it on social media, but I've also seen people scream, "They don't let Jews into the encampment," directly at Jewish students. So the idea that we don't let Jewish students into the encampment is just absurd.
So
it's just ridiculous. It's just not true.
Doyle, seriously, you didn't see Jewish people coming to the campuses and people stand in line, not speaking a word, and physically don't let them get in several campuses? Seriously, no.
Because people in the audience, you can answer this as well. Did you not see Jewish students in the encampment?
Yeah, but who started? Again.
Who started what?
Who started the demonstration? Who started to block Jewish students from going into campuses?
No,
wait. No.
Students,
seriously.
Students were blocked from being in the encampment. It had nothing to do with their identity.
All right, let's go. You got a question over there? Yeah. Milagro over there.
How y'all doing?
Labels,
I got a question. My name is Milagro Hiawatha Jones. I just graduated today from UCLA.
Congratulations.
I got a question for Brother Aidan Doyle. Now, when I first came to your encampment on Friday, April 26th, I was a staunch pro-Palestinian supporter. If you look at my music video, LA Riots, that was shot with funding from a family whose son was killed by the LAPD, and they were able to help me to get their message across. You know, I've always been a supporter of what you're a part of now. And when I came into that encampment, do you know what happened to me? You guys mistook me for a Jewish student. So by mistaking me for a Jewish student, you guys physically attacked me. Lecturers, grad students, undergrad students, you guys pushed me around with open palms, and I'm an African American student. And you done came on this stage today and brought up Zimbabwe, brought up Africa. Now you done said a lot of things about how it don't matter where you was born at. But I know in my hood, in South LA on 48th and Compton, when we did something, they was shooting us with bullets. When you guys came up against the police after you assaulted Eleanor, beat her unconscious, and that's when the community came to approach y'all, y'all got hit with rubber bullets and you got a citation. Let's be honest. So my question to you is this. If you say that your movement was peaceful and your movement was about Palestine, then why was y'all assaulting black students? White men like you. Why was y'all attacking us? If you believe in rights against oppression, why my daddy was born before the Civil Rights Act was passed and you stopped his son, the first graduate of university in our family, and y'all put y'all hands all over me and y'all put y'all foot on my daughter's stroller and y'all did it on camera and everything with no shame. At the end of the day, every single member of SJP is going to face the RICO Act because y'all are a criminal organization. So answer me this, answer me this, answer me this, answer me this. If you're a peaceful movement and you respect the rights of citizens, why did y'all violate my rights?
Yes, I don't know how many times I have to say, but nobody wasn't allowed in the encampment on the basis of their identity. Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
It's not true. You would ask students before they walked into the library if they believe that Israel has the right to exist. And if they said yes, you wouldn't let them in. And we have proof of that.
No, there are actually people, many people in the encampment who have a wide variety of views.
Correct, and that is a lie. And everybody here knows it, and you know it. You know it's a lie.
No. I was actually in the encampment. And I talked to people. Well, if you want to listen to what I'm going to say, you can stop yelling. Stop yelling, please.
Okay, we've heard you.
Educated. It doesn't fit your narrative right now, but that's the truth. It's uncomfortable.
Ma'am, we got your point. Point. Thank you.
We got your point about 15 minutes ago. Okay.
No.
So as I said, there's a wide.
Mr. Doyle, hold on a second. I think we've got yours. Let's get the next question.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually,
guys,
we had.
Wait, why do you have wristbands?
Yeah, I'll answer the question. Well, as you know, on Tuesday, the entire encampment was attacked by a violent mob of counter-protesters. No, in fact, I actually still have a mark from when I was stabbed by a metal rod. So fear of violence by agitators was a very real thing.
Okay, next question.
Yeah, you can say
next
what you
question.
want.
Hello. Hi. We can just.
Yeah, actually, we didn't give Mr. Doyle a chance to respond because a lot of stuff was going on. But Milagro said something.
Guys, your questions. Why did y'all violate my rights, man? Same thing. So just be patient, so everyone can ask their question, and you guys can continue this as we go along. But don't yell at him, because then we can't get the dialogue.
Yeah, Milagro asked a question. You should answer it, and then let's move on.
Yeah, nobody violated your rights. There were instances. We didn't violate your rights. I've literally told you like 5 times already. You can sit down now.
What?
Yeah. So people were removed from the encampment. It was because of the fear of agitation, and we actually saw that agitation when men and women in the encampment, college-age students, were throwing firecrackers at, were assaulted.
Okay, hold on though. You're not answering his question. His question was about what happened to him and his daughter, his 9-year-old daughter. Let's ask.
People firecrackers have been thrown. Day 2 of the encampment, y'all started violating my rights. Friday, April 26th.
People were removed from the encampment because of fear of violence and agitation. That's why.
No, but what do you? I want you to respond to what he's saying. Are you just denying that what he said? Are you denying what he said?
No, I said people were removed from the encampment.
Okay, all right. Let's move to the next question.
Hello. Thank you for the quick transition to my question. My name's Tajveer Singh. I'm actually a UCLA student, and I want to ask a question, sort of delving away from the personal stuff here and getting onto what the situation is going to look like in the future. So I know someone said there hasn't been a question for Mr. Yousef, so this is for both Mr. Doyle and Mr. Yousef. My question is, how do you see this conflict ending, and why or why not is that resolution adequate in creating long-term peace and stability in the region?
It directed to any particular speaker?
I can just answer super quickly, and then Mosab can. There needs to be one state solution with equal rights and protections for everybody, and an relatively equal distribution of the land for both Jews, Muslims, and Christians. And that means that the government, that means that the government of Hamas, the Palestinian Authority, and the Israeli government, none of them are perfectly suitable to do this, but it would require a lot of cooperation between the three.
One Arab country where Jews have full rights, or
How would that work when there's a good number of the population in the Palestinian territories that do not want that?
No, there are a number of people in Israel that don't want a one-state solution. There are a lot of people in Palestine don't want a one-state solution.
Wait. How can you say, wait,
Okay,
how can you,
I answered the question.
But how can you have a discussion with none of the Hamas representatives sitting here now, and you will never sit here right now? How can you have both sides facts if only one side is volunteer to sit here at all time in any place you'll ask him to? Did you see any one of the Hamas comes to sit here, to debate, to discussion?
And that's a question I was going to ask you at the end is, why is it that you think that you're the only person that we got to come up here to speak from your side of the issue?
Yeah, I can't speak for the people who didn't want to speak. But what I can say is that the view of Hamas as a completely implacable force is not completely incorrect, because they see the Palestinian issue as a very religious issue, and going back on that issue is seen as going back on God. But like we saw with the PLO, over time, they become more of a political movement and less of a nationalist movement, like we'll see with Hamas. Like we've seen with the change from 1987 charter to 1917 charter, they change and they adapt and they grow over time, and it's changing from a staunchly religious movement. Obviously, it still is a very much religious movement, but the movement itself, especially with regard to Hamas, becomes more political and becomes more malleable. The idea is that in time, if we can get Israel and Hamas to both agree to a just solution, then it's ridiculous to say, well, because Hamas is implacable now, then there won't be a solution, because Israel has also been implacable.
Hamas controls the city. Hamas controls the city. Okay. I sat with one of the guards, okay, and I tried to make him picture himself flying to Thailand or a different country. It took me only 30 days. Bless you. It took me only 30 days to do so. When he tried to imagine, when he reached to the peak of the imagination, like, to do like that, it took me 30 days to make him do that. Eventually, he fell to the chair back and said, "Oh, I can't, but the Hamas will shoot me." Do you know that they're not allowed to get out?
Yeah.
Oh,
no, I think it's wrong.
But they control the city. Do you understand that?
I disagree with that. I don't really.
But do you understand that the Hamas controls the city, which means it controls the civilians, which means he controls any outcome or what will happen to the civilians? Do you understand that?
Sorry. No, I hope I've made it clear that don't really defend Hamas that much.
Yeah, but the Hamas controls Gaza.
Well, yeah, it's a nuanced,
forget,
situation.
Stay with me. Yeah. Hamas controls Gaza.
Yeah.
Do we agree on that?
They control some of Gaza. They control some of...
Okay. Thank you.
Look, the problem is not only with Hamas. It looks like we have to please so many opposing forces. We try to please Hamas, then we have a problem with the Islamic Jihad. Then if we please Islamic Jihad, we have a problem with the Public Front. We please this, then we have to go to FIDA. Then we have to go to national. We have about 12 Palestinian factions, and all of them have different idea of what Palestine is and what can satisfy their political ambition. Then now we have Mr. Dillon, and we have a million like him in the United States that they became legitimate force in the conflict. So Israel will have to also bring them to the negotiating table and try to please their political ambition as well. So as you see, each one of them is basically a black hole that cannot be satisfied. And all of them have one thing in common, and that's not to build a Palestine. It's only to delegitimize Israel. That's the only thing they know how to do. Because if you ask him practically, how can he actually construct a model of Palestine if he's never been there? If he was actually a sincere person, he would take a flight and go to Gaza and feel the people and see their suffering firsthand. Or if it's too dangerous for him, I wouldn't blame him. Probably he would be very terrified to be in Gaza. It's too much. At least go to the West Bank. You can go to the city of Ramallah, live with the people for a couple of years, understand their culture. And when I say a couple of years, it's not enough. In order to know the mentality of the people, you have to spend with them a decade at least of daily experience to understand what they stand for before you start advocating on their behalf. You're just taking the side against Israel for killing Gaza children, ignoring the reality that Hamas is using them as civilians, as human shields. And I've been telling you this from day one, that you have been used by Hamas. They want you to cause chaos. They want the global chaos. They want to put pressure on the US government, on the Israeli government, and all other democracies. They want to bring the civilized world to its knees from those ugly images that we see from the war. But Israel did not initiate that war on October 7th. Hamas did. And our problem is not only with Hamas, is with the Palestinian ideology that you just want to gift Hamas and other fanatics a Palestinian state, thinking that this is going to bring a solution. This is going to create a global chaos. These people are not looking for equal opportunity. They don't want to divide the land. If they wanted to divide the land, they would have accepted the partition back in 1948. But instead of declaring their independence, they declared war against the Jewish people. Then they remembered some 40 years later to declare their independence. This is Palestinians, or what so-called Palestinians. They have many, many fundamental problems. They don't have a legitimate leadership. You know, you tell me about the camp, and like you speak on behalf of all the encampment in the United States. You run only a camp here at UCLA. There are other encampments. You are not in charge of them, and they did not even elect you as a leadership. You don't have a moral compass. You don't have an objective out of this thing. You're just going in a revolution for the sake of revolution. Intifada, intifada. And you don't have a resolution. Where are you? Where are you getting? What's the next shore? So fundamentally, we have a problem with Palestine. Before we resolve this issue, we need the Palestinians to decide what they want, first of all. What's their constitution? What's their agenda? What's their leadership? And will they drop violence as a method? Will they accept Israel's right to exist? Then after that, we can have a dialogue, and there can be a solution. But as long as they want to annihilate the state of Israel, kill their own children, sacrifice civilians only for your sympathy and the rest of the world's sympathy, then this cycle of violence will never end. So first of all, the forced narrative must end. Then the use of violence has to be dropped completely and unconditionally, targeting civilians indiscriminately. Then after that, there would be room for dialogue and negotiations.
If I may,
and also
to Mr.
please
Yousef,
add up to it the basic needs.
I'm sorry, just
in
one point of
2024, gay people, women, other basic stuff that you know are not allowed in there. So try to think what you support.
I just one point of clarification from Mr. Yousef. This will be really quick. I understand the characterization of Palestine and Hamas, but I think the answer you gave was a little retrospective. I guess I'm asking, what do you think, not what it should be like, but what it will look like, and is that a good solution or good way to create stability in the region?
Look, the children of the region, before they were the Palestinian identity was enforced on them, they're just children. There are Arab children, there are Jewish children, there are Druze children, and all ethnicities can get along. Arabs and Jews can get along. And I lived that era. Before the first Palestinian Intifada, things were okay. Jewish families used to come to our village and dine with us. We used to go to theirs. My father, by the way, as a Hamas leader, I remember him prior to the first Intifada serving food with his own hands. That was just 1 or 2 years before the first Palestinian Intifada. And we coexisted together. There was no checkpoints, there was no wall, there was no stabbing. But then the Intifada came, and this is when everything changed. So in my opinion, if the Palestinian violent ideology and of intifada, of violence, of globalizing the intifada, of delegitimizing Israel, of canceling Israel's right to exist, if this nonsense is dropped eventually, I think Arabs and Jews can get along. But first we have to drop the ideology, and this is where I have my problem, my fundamental problem. What is Palestine and what is the purpose of Palestine? If you want to talk about security, there could be a peacekeeping force. It does not have to be a militia carrying big guns to just secure the cities, make sure that the women and the children are safe. Then we can invest in economy and we can invest in education. And it does not have to be a state at all. You know, for example, they can have the name of a state. Take, for example, the Vatican. It's a state without borders, but it's one of the most powerful states in the world. And Palestinians don't have to control the borders and have an army and become existential threat to the state of Israel. So my personal opinion, there have to be a transitional period where what so-called Palestinians or Arabs are put to test, that they are able to coexist with Israel. And after that, we can do it step by step towards total cooperation between the Jews and the Arabs. The only threat in the way, and this is my concern, is the Palestinian ideology.
Moran, do you have a thought on the future?
I don't think we can talk about future when we still have brothers and sisters inside. And I'm a person of coexistence. Like I said, please, really, we want us to respect us all equally. I can talk about peace, and I'm a peace seeker. When I have literally brothers and sisters sitting down on mattresses, not seeing daylight for over almost 300 days. So I think that after our hostages will come back home, our people will come back home, there is a possibility to speak about freedom. And I'm here to say one thing and one thing only about that. If you keep repeating the same lesson with the same outcome, it will repeat again and again and again and again. That's how history repeats itself. That's that easy. If you want to change something, change your ways. Because what you're doing now, I'm sorry to say, this is exactly what the Hamas told me inside. And if you go and hear my interviews on Google, you will hear the exact that. Hamas woke up every morning and say, I have no emotion. My holiness is to kill and be killed. When I asked them, because we were in houses, when I asked them, say, is this house belong to a family? And he said, yes. So we took their clothes. He said, yes. So we took their food. He said, yes. So I said, so how is it different that what you say is happening to your people? Oh, they don't care. They take their own houses of their own people. You can't educate people with the same lesson, with the same outcome every single time. You want to make a change? Change your ways. Choose something different.
So, thank you, Moran. Are there any people who support pro-Palestinian movement in the audience that would like to ask a question? Yes. We need a microphone over there. You want to? Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Renee. Aidan, I commend you for... Can you hear me? Okay. My name is Renee, and I'm from Jordan, and I grew up there. Aidan, as a young man, I commend you for putting on a suit and coming out here tonight. I appreciate that from a professor, okay? But you also have to have enough humility to know that you don't know enough. And I'm telling you that as an Arab. So where would I rather live? Tel Aviv or Gaza? who would I rather live amongst? Hamas, which is what you're advocating for. I also believe that it's words and your actions are incredibly dangerous. So you're not doing my people any good by these encampments. If anything, you're empowering Hamas, Hezbollah, ISIS, and the plethora that are kind of in breeding right now. So like I said, I appreciate, you putting on a suit and coming here and speaking for my people. My people don't want you speaking for them because you're not helping us. You're not. You can shake your head. You can shake your head. You can shake your head.
I don't claim to speak for the people of Jordan. I don't know what you're talking about.
Jordan, Palestine, same thing. Listen, don't be rude,
I'm
man.
asking They're not the same thing.
Okay,
actually.
it's not the same thing, but no, actually, here's the thing. Here's one thing you don't know.
No, they're literally not.
Hold on. Let her speak.
Before the British mandate, I could have been a Palestinian instead of a Jordanian or Egyptian. It's the same people. So don't act like you know my people better than myself or Yousef. So that's the arrogance that I have with the encampments. This is the arrogance and the problem that I have with the encampments. I came here tonight with a fucking taser because you think you're protesting peacefully? I'm going to be okay showing up here by myself because white, entitled, spoiled Americans want to get attention? That's what you're standing up for. You're making it worse for Arabs here and back home. So you're not doing any of us any
I have
help.
a question for you. Can I ask a question not regarding politicians?
Yeah. Any other pro-Palestinian students or adults?
Can I ask a small question?
Yes.
A small question,
Yeah.
like a really friendly question. What will happen if me and you will text and we'll meet up in a bar in the middle of the US next to the campus? Just with your agenda, me with my opinions, and then your friends will see you from the side. What will happen?
You mean my friends from the encampment?
Your friends that support the same agenda that you support. And I'm wearing my Star of David and all my Judaism signs. What will happen if they'll see you in a casual conversation with me?
I think they'd probably be fine with it.
Doyle, I was disconnected from civilization for 2 months. It took me half a minute to understand that something will happen to me. I was forbidden to speak Hebrew in London next to students. You know that? Because they feared my life. I'm not allowed to put Star of David in many, many cities. Did you know that?
That's wrong. That shouldn't happen.
But it happens because students support it. I'm not afraid of all...
I don't support... Well, you're talking to me. I don't support
Doyle,
that. So
let's meet up tomorrow in your campus. Yeah. Next to the people.
Aidan, you want to meet with her?
Yeah, sure.
All right, great. That's progress. Any pro-Palestinian people here that would like to speak?
I am not self-described as pro-Palestinian, but I am pro-human rights. So
Okay,
I'm going to ask
that's
this
good
question
enough for me.
regardless. First, I would like to say Baruch Hashem for your safe return, and we are very happy to have you here with us. I would also like to thank Mosab from the bottom of my heart for being here as well. You've been a great voice for the Jewish people, and we appreciate you. After reading your book, Mosab, I learned that even the most radical people can be de-radicalized. So in the face of bigotry and anti-Semitism on college campuses and across the world, how do we go about de-radicalizing more people like Mr. Doyle?
Look, ideology is a construct, and this is, I speak from a personal experience because I was able to change the way I think and the way I perceive reality. But it requires lots of courage that we should work on ourselves and be able to drop our false identities, not actually empower them. Palestine or Palestinian, again, it's a construct, and we can deconstruct that. But first of all, we need either to drop it completely or to reshape it of something that is useful. And this is what I'm saying. You want to be a Palestinian? I don't have a problem. If they insist on that identity, ideology, then I have no problem. But I need to see their constitution. What actually makes them Palestinians? And how can I satisfy their needs, their wants, their ambition? And who is the leadership? Am I talking to students on UCLA campus that they're completely irrelevant to the reality of the Middle East, that actually don't have a connection or power to force Hamas to release one hostage, or to force Hamas to step down and get out of the way of the Arab and Jewish children so they can live their life? They don't have that kind of power. They cannot convince Hamas. Hamas won't listen to them. They don't have authority. But they are working freely to advocate on behalf of Hamas propaganda. So we are not helping the situation. We are empowering this ideology, we are globalizing it, and we are getting infinite forces from everywhere to take part of this complicated matrix of the Middle East. So my suggestion, first of all, we need to localize it, not globalize it. And anti-war activity is something, but to delegitimize a democracy by spreading all type of allegations, like for example, a genocide, this is a very serious allegation. And when the ICJ judge say that there is no genocide, then it's finished. The people with the authority on the topic said the final verdict, the final word. But the pro-Palestine and the encampment did not suit them well. They wanted the genocide allegations to continue for eternity because it's serving their agendas now. So I'll have to meet with every force that came to join the cause, the angry cause. How can we solve the problem? We will never be able to solve the problem this way. So we need to localize the problem. Enough. We don't want to globalize it. And we need the people of the region who has the authority to decide for themselves. I think today the Palestinians came to realize that violence is a dead end. What Hamas did, a momentum of 36 years of violence, what they achieved, the destruction of Gaza and the suffering of so many civilians, innocent children. Now they realize, I think, that this is a dead end. They're going nowhere. And I think this is the best education. Later on, I hope for the Arabs of that region to elect and nominate a reasonable leadership that cares for the future of the children, and not to get them involved in this vicious cycle of violence by giving nonsense solutions and speaking on behalf of a region that we don't understand.
Thank you.
Any other pro-Palestinian people here? Are you pro-Palestinian? Yeah? Okay.
No, back there.
I don't know if I...
Hi, my name is Yahya, and I've seen war. Question for Doyle. I know you represent yourself, but as you know, most Palestinians do not accept a Jewish state in any border. Why could there be 22 Arab states, 49 Muslim states, but there can't be an Armenian state, nor Kurdish state, nor Jewish state, which are minorities in the Middle East? Do you see yourself as being moral for only one type of people?
No, I think I made it abundantly clear that the solution that I see.
If you're representing yourself, then what are you doing representing the Palestinian cause? Like you're not part of the Palestinian cause.
No, I only represent
cause
myself.
Does not want a Jewish state from the river to the sea. Why are you representing a group of people that are totally object to your opinion?
What do you? No, they don't. I think there should be one. I think there should be one state with equal rights for everyone. That's my solution.
No, what he's saying that the Hamas and the Palestinians want to eliminate Israel. That's what he's saying. The Hamas, the agenda of the Hamas, which is true, they say it daily. The Hamas agenda and the civilians' agenda, not most of them. How it is, not 100% support the same purpose, but most of them wants to eliminate Israel, which means to destroy and kill, not to move to a different place. That's what he's saying. That's it. I was just sharpening it.
Yeah, so I guess the premise of the question is that many Palestinians want to destroy Israel. I think no. So a political situation in which the current state of Israel and the current state of Palestine, in whatever forms that they have taken up as of right now, don't exist, does not mean that you want to kill everyone in the region or kill all the Jewish people or kill all the Palestinians. And I think that when Netanyahu says that he doesn't believe in a Palestinian state, I don't take that to mean that he wants to kill all the Palestinians. Just like when Hamas in their charter says that they don't believe in a Jewish state, I don't take that to mean that they want to kill all the Jews.
But if we don't support it, then how you guys screaming intifada?
No. Yeah,
all right. Okay.
Yeah. So the 1987.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The 1987.
Ma'am,
the 1987.
Sorry, I have the microphone
Mr. Doyle,
and I've waited for a really long time.
We got to wrap it up here. All right. We heard what you said.
I'm here with the microphone, sir. Can you sit down, please?
Hold on.
Don't see with open eyes what's going on in the Middle East. It's not Palestinian and it's not Jews, it's Iran.
Yes.
And please, let's just put on the table and
put the money everywhere to destroy the Jews, because the Jews is the little ones, and then they'll go after the Gentiles, then they'll go after anybody.
They'll go after you.
As Iran has mullahs that support the creation of the Muslim world to be Muslim, will have always a problem. I've been in the West Bank. I served in the West Bank. I have nothing against Palestinians. Now I have something that you have to realize. And if you don't realize, you've been sponsored by Qatar, which is sponsored by Iran. Until you finish this mullahs running the world, we'll have a problem. I don't care what anybody says. Palestinians themselves are peaceful people. I'll be the first one. I deal with them. I do business with them. As long as Iran agitates, and agitating means money, support the extreme people, will have a problem.
Okay.
Maybe you should direct your question.
I'm sorry. I've got my microphone. I've been waiting. I have an important question. This is for you, Doyle.
Right. This will be the last question for now.
Yeah, thank you.
We can do more of these if you want.
Okay. So, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but since about 2018, there have been settlements of Palestinian families in Afrin, which is the part of Kurdistan that's occupied by Syria. And this has been a part of a movement to Arabize the region and to decrease Kurdish presence there. And it's been with financial support from the Palestinian Authority and other Arab states. And this is just one very recent example, but I'm curious why you don't take into account Pan-Arabism as an ideological movement of ethnic and cultural hegemony when you're discussing the things that are prolonging the conflict and what that means and has meant for minorities of the region, and how that has been a fuel for the ongoing resistance to any minority independence or sovereignty, including Jewish.
Yeah, good question. So, the establishment of settlements in any region that results in the ethnic cleansing of that people, whether it's Kurdish, whether it's Palestinians, whether it's anybody, is something that I, in principle, don't agree with. So I don't agree with the creation of settlements in order to ethnically cleanse the Palestinian region. But if you're going to ask about Pan-Arabism in the context of the Palestinian, the Israel-Palestine conflict, well, it's completely contradictory towards both the Palestinian Authority and Hamas. It's contradictory towards Hamas because Pan-Arabism is in complete contradiction to any sort of Islamic state, and it's in contradiction to Palestinian nationalism.
Is the Palestinian flag identical then to the flag of the Kingdom of Hijaz, to the flag of the Baptist movement? And what are the symbolic representations of that flag? So if you're going to say that it's a completely distinct and independent nationalism, then I want to know how you explain overlaps with other Arab nationalism.
Yeah, so the idea of a nation is, as I said earlier on, it is not whether you want to say that Palestinians are the same as Jordanians or the same as Lebanese. Well, nations are not actually created based on ethnic lines. Rather, they're realized, and then the ethnic distinctions between nations are realized. And this has been the case across the world. So any genetic similarities or any cultural similarities between Palestinians and Jordanians or Palestinians and other Arab countries is actually irrelevant. And first of all, well, let me just finish. Because well, first of all, Palestinians are actually quite genetically distinct from other Arab countries like Saudi Arabia. But even if that's irrelevant, the existence of a nation, even if Palestinians were identical to every other Arab country, that doesn't mean that they don't have a right to a nation. And we've seen with no creation of.
Palestinians have a right to a nation. That's not my question.
Oh, okay.
It's about Pan-Arabism as an ideological agent in this conflict and opposition, regional opposition to any minority sovereignty, and that having been a shared agenda of multiple Arab nations, including the Palestinian nation. And this is consistently brushed away, ignored, in order to paint Zionism as an ideological agent against a sort of a organic, natural desire for nationalism, which is what the Palestinians want.
Yeah. So if Pan-Arabism was the dominant, well, for one, Pan-Arabism as a dominant ideology largely died out in the 60s and 70s. But if you're asking about, well, as a dominant, yeah, the Hamas chart is in complete contradiction to Pan-Arabism. They're literally ideologically completely distinct from each other. It's impossible for Pan-Arabism to exist and the Hamas Islamic Charter to exist. But on the question of yes, I'll answer your question. If Pan-Arabism was really as dominant as you said, then the existence of Lebanon as a nation, as Jordan as a nation, of Saudi Arabia as a nation, they wouldn't exist.
All right, thank you. Okay, this woman's been very patient and really persistent, so I'm going to give her a quick question.
This question is for the both of you. What does from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, and intifada, resistance by all means necessary, mean to the both of you? And also, would you be able to tell me what the gender apartheid is in all of the neighboring countries around Israel, gender apartheid towards women, and the treatment of the LGBT community in all of the Arab countries besides Israel? Would you both be able to tell me? I want both of you to answer these questions, please. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Well, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. All Palestinians are free from the occupation, that they don't have to face discrimination, that they don't have to face apartheid, and that they don't have to face oppression by the Israeli government, and that they don't have to face these constant incursions into Gaza. which, by the way, are designed to be asymmetrical, to target civilian infrastructure, and to make sure that Hamas has as little public support in Gaza as possible. The next you said about the gender apartheid, it's actually not that hard for me to. It's not that hard for me to say that women and men should have equal rights in every country. No, but
It's not up to you.
Let her.
The gender apartheid and the treatment of LGBT
it's-
in
yeah,
every
so-
country besides Israel. Would you be able to tell me what?
Yeah, so the gender apartheid is it's
All
actually it's not the correct use of the term, but but yeah, women in Iran and Saudi Arabia,
And Gaza.
in Gaza, yes, in Gaza they should have equal rights. It's really not
Okay,
that,
thank you.
It's really
So
not that
you guys,
complicated.
they're going to shut down the lights on us if we don't wrap this up. But I want to say something just in closing. Was there?
I have a question for Mr. Yousef. I'm right here.
I'm right over here. No, where we are. Where is
Yeah. Wait. Who's
I'm right
running
here.
the show?
I'm right here. I don't know if you can see me, but you're looking at me right now. So, Mr. Yousef, thank you so much for coming tonight, and this question is directed towards you. Since October 7th, I have noticed more and more people beginning to proudly walk around wearing the keffiyeh, specifically non-Arab people and also people in queer spaces, which I am a part of since I am queer myself. How do you feel when you see queer people and university students, specifically non-Arab people, wearing the keffiyeh as a sort of support and saying we support the Palestinian people? How do you feel seeing that? Because personally, I feel more and more scared walking around in America as a queer Iranian Jew. And it really breaks my heart seeing this. And I want to know, what do you have to say to these people proudly walking around with the keffiyeh, not knowing the significance? Thank you.
I think you probably know his answer, but go ahead.
The only way I feel that I'm in the wrong business, because I could have sold millions of these keffiyehs and became rich out of the conflict. So I've been missing out. People can wear whatever they want to wear. Yeah, I don't have a problem with people wearing a keffiyeh. People make dresses out of it. People might make some underwear out of it. It's not my problem. It will never make them authentic. And they will never be part of the reality of the Middle East. They will continue to be part of a virtual reality disconnected from the real world. And I guarantee you that this is not only his or their problems. In life, they are disconnected from reality. They are living in an alternative reality. And this is where they think they rule, by how many followers they have. But eventually, you know who decides the reality on the ground? The brave soldiers who are fighting the real fight in the face of the monsters. At the end of the day, okay, I agreed to come to this debate, but I didn't think that is going to be this ridiculous. Okay. But anyway, I choose to come to someone who's living in their own head, and they want to defy a 45-year of solid experience that has the power of gravity that can take a galaxy in if necessary. So he can go on thinking in his head, but at the end of the day, the powerful soldiers, those are my people. Those are the ones who are going to decide the day. And those are the ones who will write the history. And everyone else will read it. Thank you. Guys, I love you, and I'm